Hello, Chill Computer Guy. We're here in Bitwig Studio. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a basic song. We're going to talk about it, talk about the ideas involved. The whole idea here is minimalism is key. A lot of times to get into the emotion and the hook of a song, you'll find that it's really simplicity as opposed to having 900 tracks. This particular song has 5 tracks. It's at 86 is the BPM, so it's a little slower as far as tempo goes. Now you can see here we have 5 tracks here. Now a couple of these are buses. We have a bus for the drums, of course, and the bass is actually 2 layers, and then the vocal is 3 channels. So we have 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's actually 12 channels in this mix, so 12 channels here. We're going to go through some of this and talk about how it was created. The biggest thing I want people to get from these short videos is inspired to do music. A lot of times I won't feel inspiration. I'll watch a couple of YouTube films, tutorials, videos, whatever you want to call them, and it will give me this inspiration. And so that's kind of what I'm aiming to do here with these. So when I open, I like to keep things very, very plain. As you can see, all my panels are closed down. This is actually the way I like to leave the song, and this is the way I like to open the song. That way, if you have some preconceived notion of what you're doing with the song, I don't like opening a project and having all these panels in your face. I like opening it and having, in Bitwig Studio, you can close all this stuff down. It's very brilliantly done. So as I say, I got the 5 channels here, and these little icons down the side. If I click this one on top, it's going to open up my clip launcher. And so now let's go ahead and listen to a couple of these clips and kind of see where we're at here. So let's, we got this, it's a half bar drum. Now the great thing about Bitwig Studio is the workflow. If you double click this, it's going to open up in your editor here. Let's go ahead and play that. Now that's with no shuffle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the shuffle on. But you'll see how adding the shuffle just gives you a whole different kind of angle on the whole song. Sixteenth note, we got 35%. Let's turn it off. And back on. So we're going to go ahead and play the next part of the drums, and then we're going to go ahead and quickly click through these, and then we'll blend them all together. So the second half of the drums is actually a full bar. This is a half bar repeated, so it's a very, very redundant loop, but it worked. Let's add in the bass now. You can see layered editing. Layered editing is very, very nice, very well implemented in Bitwig Studio. Let's go ahead and add the lead in here. Now we also have a sample in here. Now this sample is coming from Splice.com. If you haven't checked out Splice.com, it's one of my favorite websites. What you do is you pay a small fee and you're allotted a certain amount of samples per month. So instead of spending 20, 30 bucks on a bloated sample pack, you can just spend, you know, 7, 8 bucks a month. So that way you can dig around, browse, and then really pull down the samples that you're going to use in your track. And it's sorted by BPM, by key, and all that stuff. So it's a really good way to find the sound you're looking for your particular song. Here's a sample I got from Splice.com right here. And so that's basically the loop so far, minus the vocals. We're going to talk about the vocals here in a little bit, but let's quickly pause here and talk about the samples and the instruments used in this particular piece. These are actually drum hits that I got from Splice.com. Just unbelievable, all different styles of drum hits, one-shots, loops, all kinds of stuff on there. This happens to be the atmospheric vinyl drum. So let's go ahead and listen to these. That's it. Those are the 5 drums. That's all we need there. That's all we need. You know, keep it simple. With the hi-hat. That's the drums. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the bass. We'll close this back down. Now the bass is 2 instances of Element, which is a synthesizer by Waves. This is one of my favorite synthesizers for bass, just because it has a very analog, it has a lot of character. So let's take a listen to the bass line here. You can see this bass line, like I say, minimalism is king. There's only 3 different notes going on. There's the G, the A sharp, the G, and then the C. So G, A sharp, G, C. That's all there is. That's all that's going on with that bass line. I find that a lot of electronic musicians nowadays just have too many sounds. Me personally, when I first got into this, there's just too many damn sounds. There's too many synthesizers. You know, I'm a huge believer in finding your tools. You know, finding the 3 or 4 or 5 synths that really work for you, sticking to those and learning them really, really well. If you have a sound in your head, work that synth until you find the sound. Now, another great tip, using presets is kind of a starting point. Find a preset that's kind of in the ballpark of the sound you want and then alter it. Change it up just slightly. But use the preset as a starting point as opposed to an initialized patch. Starting from scratch can be a little overwhelming, especially if you're on a time crunch. So this here is the Element, and it has a great sounding filter, real analog sounding. Highly recommend this synth, but wait till it's on sale. That's the bass. Now let's go over here to the lead, and the lead actually happens to be another Waves synthesizer. And this is the Codex. Now the lead, again, very minimalistic. Same exact notes. It's a G, A sharp, G, C. G, A sharp, G, C. 4 notes. Actually 3 notes. One's repeated. The Codex is another synthesizer. This is Waves, wavetable synthesizer put out by Waves. Waves. Same company that puts out the Element. Now for me, what I did is, it was right around the holidays, right around Christmas times. Waves was having this unbelievable sale. I got both these synthesizers for like 119 bucks, which is insane, an insane amount of synthesis for, you know, just over $100. And these 2 synthesizers, I love them. They're at the top of my list as far as throwing them into a track and really getting that sound I want. They're very good and very easy to sound design on, and they have great presets. Like I say, that's a good starting point, is maybe going with presets and then altering those to your taste. But both of these synthesizers are great. They're very analog, they have great filters, great EQs, and they're just the right amount. These 2 synthesizers are featured. These are the main 2 synths in the song. I like to use the Element for bass, and I like to use the Codex for leads and pads. It has some great pad sounds as well. So definitely go to Waves and check out these 2 synthesizers. But like I say, your eyes are going to pop out of your head because these are like $200 a piece. But if you wait for the sales, and so that's the lead right there. That's it. Alright, now let's talk about vocals. Now vocals, to me, are the ingredient that really makes you go back and work on a song. If I'm just putting synths and MIDI notes in and little sample loops, that will get lost. It will get lost in the archive, or I may never go back to the song again. But once I start to add a vocal track, then the song really starts to, I guess, take a unique shape. And so we do have vocals for this particular song. The vocals, like I say, I'm not a, the Pavarotti. I'm not the, I'm not a vocal giant here. But what I do is I try to sing. It's a combination of singing close to key and then adding effects to the vocal chain and really getting something that works. Let's go ahead and listen to the vocals on this song. With the vocal, make sure you're mic'd up well and make sure you have a noise gate on there,
home with a bag of licorice in your hands. You are swimming sheep. You're ahead of me. I'm behind you. Allegory on the top shelf. I can never feel alone. You are still hurting me. You are still hurting me inside. Stretch the night. Break it open with just.
Okay, let's talk about the vocal chain now. Again, we're going back to Waves plugins. Wait for the sale. The CLA2A, it's basically an LA2A, which is a vintage compressor that is at the top of any major producer's list. It's the vocal compressor. If you're going to do vocals, you need this. This is the golden ticket right here. Now, the Pultec EQs are unbelievable. These EQs I use on every track. They're my favorite EQ of all time. They will add a character. You can't put your finger on it. They will add a character to the track that they're just great. Now the Fab Q, this is actually a demo version. I don't actually own this because I'm not into $200 EQs, but this right here, you can use the Bitwig EQ as well. The Bitwig EQ will work. But as far as EQing, I like to do what I call a hard EQ, which is basically a lot of low cuts and maybe a high shelf for vocals. And then you add a second, which is the Pultec, which is kind of a character EQ. And so that's really a good kind of, for me, works for me. You have your hard EQ and then your character EQ. And so the hard EQ, I would use, the Bitwig EQ, or in this case, the Fab filter, which, like I say, is a demo. I don't really own this. And then but as far as the character EQ, got to use like a Pultec, some kind of a vintage type thing. Now, as far as reverb goes, the Valhalla Room is my favorite reverb for the money. This is a $50 reverb. It has every parameter you could possibly want. It has just a crap load of presets, just tons and tons of presets, and you can really find your reverb sound from this Valhalla Room. I love this. This is one of my great purchases as far as reverbs go. The Bitwig reverb leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't really like it. Hopefully the new update in Bitwig will have a better reverb. But in the meantime, I'm using this Valhalla Room because I love it. Now, this Bitwig vocals, this is kind of a great plug-in to just throw on a vocal and get into the ballpark. I got this. This was like on sale for $29, so it's a $30 plug-in. Tons of presets, and I don't know if you know who Bitwig is. He's kind of an indie 90s indie producer who produced I believe he produced that Siamese Dream album, which is one of the best albums to come out in the 90s. But yeah, this I love throwing on a vocal and then just messing with some presets and getting to the ballpark of what you want to do with the vocal. And this particular vocal track doesn't have any delay on it. It's pretty much has reverb, but it doesn't have any delay or anything, a hard delay on there. And so that's pretty much the vocal chain. Let's go ahead and pop over to the arranger. You can see kind of how this all comes together. Here's the arranger here. Now, as far as the arranger, you can have these wide tracks here. The wide tracks, I don't really like the wide tracks. I actually like these narrow tracks. The wide tracks just kind of are obnoxious. But what I like to do is open up these lanes here. This will kind of give you a bird's eye view of your MIDI, and then kind of going that route. We're going to go ahead and play out on this song. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We'll have more of these tutorials coming up in the next couple of weeks. Comment, give a thumbs up, tell a friend, and we'll see you guys next week.
I can never feel alone. You are still hurting me.